Get it. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Anita's Joint. Hashtag extended joint where every day is payday, baby. You're tuned in to another esoteric video. Now, listen, Miss Brianna's in the streets right now. Her currency is hot on the block. I'm seeing her on practically everyone's timeline. I mean, and it's all because of this freaking DC bid for Trinity Broadman. I mean, who Brianna Scurry? Did y'all know her? I really don't know her. We about to get to know her. First, I forgot they set the blueprint. Damn, legendaries. Oh my goodness. So like I said, Brianna Scurry was our first mirror of the melanated essence in USA Women's National Team backline goalkeeper. Now we also know that French, I forgot, I believe she plays for, I don't even know where the girl's at, honestly. Did she play for Kansas City Current? Where she played? She played for Seattle. I don't even know where she's at. But she was our second, I guess, when I think about it, you know? And like I said, if Curry set the blue, if, Brianna set the blueprint, and then we got Hope Solo right after, then we got, we said we got a listener for that long time. You see how, they definitely dismantled Brianna's blueprint with Hope Solo. They're like, we cannot have another Hope Solo. You know what I'm saying? And if it all came from Kurt, Brianna, they're like, damn, straight savagery. But like I said, I didn't even know. I didn't even like when they always talked about the 1990 team. It didn't click to me to identify the only girl that represents Nita. You know what I'm saying? You see how programming the world be look. You see how I wasn't even focused on her. I was focused on the people, the propaganda that they had put in my face. And see, that's how the magic work. And it's real fucked up. And because we truly love, unapologetically. We truly do appreciate the currency that you put out. But then it's like ours is not valued. And it's like, damn nigga, you know what? I got two. Anyways. So Brianna, she up in the streets. Apparently, they had her on. We honestly gonna go down the YouTube timeline of her to see what type of rhetoric and where she been at, because it's like we got women's two leagues now in the Americas, and the other league, Gainbridge, signed her as a brand ambassador. So if she is the first. Now she's a part of the first ever second league in Encounter or in Mirror or in another alignment to the NWSL, or we could call it, the split of the divine feminine, because it's like, that's what it looks like to me. There's two energies of divine feminine frequencies on planet America. Okay. Or maybe even just in the world, right? One that is more of what we've been given currently in this timeline. And then two, what Briana, Angel Reese, Trinity Rodman have a potential, and not even potential. I mean, it's already here. I mean, look, I'm helping it. Look, it is what it is. So let's get into who Briana is, a little bit about her story. There's honestly like great stuff about her, and I'm not surprised. Like when I think about like her blueprint, and you know what I'm saying. So she has a very very and powerful story. Like none of all those players that, I mean, nah, nigga, her story is incredible to actually, like, when you start to decode it and you're like, damn, I'm not surprised she had this type of story, and I'm not surprised it wasn't covered. But here she is again, like I said, with the reboot timeline for Gainbridge, and I'm super excited. I can't, I'm a part of it now. I'm all in, nigga. We already been through that in the back, nigga. We got a whole nother league. Look, December 6th, we got to tap in. I think December 6th is when they all come back. The ladies come back. We got to start to get to know some of these players, some of these archetypes, and we finna have a big party over here. And I'm ready for it. So let's go to this article here they put out. And amazing. All right. Okay. All right. Gainbridge signs U.S. soccer legend Brianna Scurry as brand ambassador. Now, honestly, I'm not even too sure what a brand ambassador is. right? You know, because these words in the 3D, you know, they have magic. The words in the 3D, yes, they have they are spells. But if we could just bypass the spelling and understand the frequency and understand the energy of a brand ambassador, someone that promotes the brand, that represents the brand, a face of the brand, energetically of the brand, their image. All right. Okay, anyways, let's get into it. This was this year. This was written on April 8th, 2025. Gainbridge signs U.S. soccer legend Brianna Scurry as brand ambassador. Scurry is scurried to use her platform to provide more opportunities for women and youth soccer players, empower women to achieve financial goals. She has 173 international appearances. Like, we're gonna watch the video and everything too, but Zooville, what is this? Indiana? Gainbridge. A Group 1001 company announced today announced a multi-year partnership with the Hall of Famer soccer goalkeeper Brianna Scurry to serve as a brand ambassador for the company. A two-time Olympic gold medalist, World Cup champion, and trailblazer in women's sports, Scurry will partner with Gainbridge to provide more opportunities for women and youth soccer players, host clinics nationwide, and empower women to achieve their financial goals. I've long admired Gainbridge for their commitment and investing in women's sports, and I'm excited to join their team of ambassadors, said Scurry. My journey from winning a World Cup to facing financial hardship after a career-ending injury has taught me importance of planning for the future, and Gainbridge provides the tools to do that. I'm thrilled to be teaming up with Gainbridge to create more opportunities for the next generation of soccer players and to inspire more women to take control of their own financial future. It says, Scurry widely regarded as one of the greatest goalkeepers in U.S. history. And honestly, like I said, my timeline, I didn't get to watch her play. I had the Hope Solo. I was introduced to USA during Hope Solo's era, and then of course we saw Listen There, and yeah, so I wasn't a part of that her timeline. So to me, Hope Solo was the best, right? But before Hope Solo was Brianna, right? Once again, Brianna is widely regarded as one of the greatest goalkeepers in U.S. history. Competed in 4 World Cups and 3 Olympic Games. During the 1999 World Cup, she made the iconic penalty kick save that carried the U.S. to victory. Nigga. Man, remember I made that video on key things. Like I said, it just takes one save from the goalkeeper, or one miss from the player. But if the player if the player misses by save, well, that's the goalkeeper's claim. The player misses without the goalkeeper, saving it. Well, that's on the player. But like I said, honestly, I don't even know what this even looks like. I actually got to go on YouTube to watch an image of this if it was captured, because I don't even know how the energetic of that play was. You know what I'm saying? I'm so in the dark about who this woman is. It's kind of crazy. And I live in America. And I watch women's soccer. And I watch America, USA. And that just shows you how, like, damn, nigga, we don't talk about her, nigga. What the fuck? And I'm like, and that's why I'm just like, oh my God. It's so obvious. But anyway, she's back on the streets, obviously. Back outside, nigga. She back outside. She been outside, honestly. She had to rebuild herself without any help. So now, she being now you see her being platform, but it's too late, nigga. She already been signed with another league, and we here. So once again, Scurry widely regarded as one of the greatest goalkeepers in U.S. history. Competed in 4 World Cups, right? 3 Olympic Games. During the 1999 World Cup, she made the iconic penalty save that carried the U.S. to victory, a defining moment in women's sport history. She was the first woman goalie and the first black woman to be introduced into the National Soccer Hall of Fame. She was also part of the first professional soccer league for women in the U.S. in 2003. And you think about it. So she made the save, and you thought, well, she would be a part of this collective. Obviously, like, I'm the one that made the save, nigga. None of y'all made the save. Look, I should be at least a part of this campaign run, whatever we have after. Like, how is it that I'm not a part of this shit? Literally, a whole nother league is here. She's ambassador. Is she ambassador of NWSL? Ain't no. It can't. I don't know. Because is that a conflict? Is that a conflict of interest? And she's ambassadors of both. You know what I'm saying? I seen some matches. When I was looking at the internet and what they have of her, I saw her like at Washington Spirit panel or something like that, and some other things. But I mean, nigga, we've been watching the NWSL for a long ass time. And I'm like, how many times did we actually see her or even heard about her name? Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? So, anyways, her time is here. So, from winning, once again, from winning 2 Olympic gold medals and a World Cup to a traumatic brain injury that left her temporarily totally disabled and in a financial hardship, Scurry has overcome physical, mental, and financial challenges. As a Gainbridge ambassador, she will partner with the company to further its mission for driving financial success and investing in women's sports. She will build her own future. Financial security by using part of her sponsorship compensation in an annual Gainbridge. I was like, immunity. With both a legendary sports career and vision for impacting the future, Briana is a role model for fans across U.S. said Group 1001 President and CEO Dan Torres. What Briana did in 1999 with the U.S. women's national team changed the trajectory of soccer for the next generation of women. Her commitment to empowering excellence and making a positive impact aligns with our mission at Gainbridge. It says, Scurry joins the Gainbridge roster of women ambassador athletes who share the brand's mission of investing in women's sports and creating a positive impact in communities across the country. Other ambassadors include Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, Billie Jean King, and what is this? A golf player? Who? LPGA tour winner Annika. Okay. About Gainbridge. Founded in 2018, Gainbridge is intros tech subsidiary of Group 1001 that empowers consumers to take control of their financial futures with solutions that are accessible to everyone, no matter their budget or financial knowledge. Its platform provides access to financial products that are simple, intuitive, and backed by smart technology with no complexity or hidden fees. Gainbridge is headquartered in Louisville, Indiana. For more, you can visit their link type shit. About Group 1001. Insurance is a collective that empowers companies to create positive growth. Our insurance and amenities are easy to understand and accessible to all. Our online investing platform gives individuals control over their savings. Our technology and innovation help companies succeed, and our strategic partnerships bring people together through education and sports. I feel like I read about this before, but anyways, as of December 31st, 2024, I feel like I read this before. Group 1001 Insurance had more than 1,500 employees and combined asset under management of approximately $67.8 billion. Damn. So you trying to tell me as of December 31st, 2024, Group 1110 Group 1001 Insurance has more than 150 employees, 150,000 employees, and combined assets under management of approximately 67.8 billion. That's a lot of money, right? Assets they managing, that's a lot of money. They're in the billions. So they have that much of value in their little group. Nigga, 67 billion? They sitting on that? And they're pretty much this little old group. They be managing under management approximately 67 billion and currently provides over 496,000 active immunity contracts and life insurance policies. It comprises the following brands: Delaware Life, Gainbridge, Clean Spring Life and Immunity Company, Clear Spring Property and Casualty Group, Clear Spring Health, and RVI Group, among others. So you got archetypes like Brianna Scurry with a 67. They're managing $67 billion. Wow. All right, let's hear from Brianna here. All right, because she is the woman of the hour, the woman of the era. I mean, this is the Gainbridge Super League ambassador. Okay. All right, here we go. Hold on. Ding, 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 ding. Break.
I'm so excited about the time of my life that this partnership is coming. The financial piece has been the one piece that I have been unable to nail. And then out of the blue comes Gainbridge. And so I'm excited to be a part of the team. And I also, of course, love that Gainbridge is supporting women's athletics in such a fantastic way. And I'm really happy to be a part of it as well. And so when I brought the medals to this facility to have them appraised and got my money, I got in my car and I just cried. I cried for an hour because I just was so sad about what I had to do. This partnership is special for me. You know, this is coming at a point in my life and my career where I can really continue to help people. They may not be thinking about this amazing opportunity that they have to start saving now. And Gamebridge is all about that. My purpose is to inspire and to create. And I did both of those things incredibly well in my time with the national team jersey, in my time on the pitch. And I feel like I was able to, with my fantastic teams, inspire so many young girls all over the world by the millions, that a lot that I'll never even meet. And so part of my journey and my desire now is to make my next 40 years as impactful as my first 40. And Gamebridge is helping me do that.
All right, nice. Little brand ambassador. She said this is coming at a key time in her point of life. It is. Ain't it for everyone? Everybody. It came at a key time. She so happens to be the club ambassador, former USA legend, and it's someone outside NWSL. Angel Reese, DC United. I keep saying DC United. DC Power makes a bid for Trinity Rodman. We're watching Rodman's in the final. So I guess, like I said, it'd be different if Rodman team didn't make Rodman team would have made the playoffs, but say they didn't end up in the final, right? And with the Gainbridge League currently I think they're on like match day. I think they were like 14. I think they're coming up on match day 14. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. I came across this article too, and we gonna read into it. We're gonna read it as well. It says it's time for Brianna Scurry to receive her full due, and I think so. I happen to agree with you too. This was written February 19, 2021, right? It says by now it's well known that the 1999 FIFA Women's World Cup drastically shifted the way people viewed women's soccer in the United States. The World Cup, which was hosted in the U.S., averaged close to 38,000 spectators per match, with a total with a total audience of 1.9 million, a record that stood until 2015. Television ratings were likewise historic, and viewership for several matches breaking domestic soccer records for channels like ESPN and ABC. The tournament was also a massive financial success with a 4 million profit on its 30 million operating budget. Yeah, all these numbers. Okay. All right. When the U.S. women's national team won the final in the penalty shootout against China, the team became the first team to win the tournament twice, which their first title came in 1991. It says the women on the team became overnight celebrities, embarking on well-received victory tours. Their team bus had arrived. Their team bus had traveled with a 4-motorcycle escort due to excessive fan interest. Richard Finn, who was the director of public relations for the tournament at this time, compared the frenzy to the Spice Girls and the Backstreet Boys and the Beatles. The winning team, nicknamed the 99ers, featured players like Mia Hamm, an explosive forward player who had an incredible technical ability and was consistent goal scorer. Tiffany Milibrandt, a consistent menace for opposition defenders, and Michelle Akers, a tenacious and powerful defensive midfielder. But a name that still goes undermentioned is the goalkeeper Brianna Scurry. There you go. Yeah, I wonder why. And I'm trying to think. Anyways, let's continue. Keepers in general are often under-celebrated compared to their teammates. They aren't as flashy, they don't score goals, and they are often seen as less work to do. I would say often seen as having less work to do. But make no mistake, the 99ers don't become the iconic team everyone knows them to be without Brianna Scurry. Look at that, it says right there. But make no mistake, the 1999ers don't become the iconic team everyone knows them to be without Brianna Scurry. So without Brianna, y'all wasn't going to look. Someone put it on paper already, nigga. I ain't have to put it. Someone said without Brianna Scurry, make no mistake, niggas. She said, "Wait, make no mistake, niggas. Without Brianna Scurry, the 1999ers don't become the iconic team everyone knows them to be without her. Without her, right there." She was a pivotal. She was a key. She was a foundational piece of the 1990s. Yep. Mm-hmm. 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 So when girls grow up, they're like, I can be like Brianna. You talking about? Yep. Yes, you can. She was the first to ever do it. Once again, make no mistake. The 1990s don't become the iconic team everyone knows them to be without Brianna Scurry. Scurry first debuted in the U.S. Women's National Team back in 1994. See, I wasn't even in existence, okay? I wasn't even in existence yet. This is why I don't know her. And a lot of the collective probably don't either. They know about her. It says by 1995, Mary Harvey, the U.S. Women's National starting goalkeeper, was in the twilight years of her international career, which paved the way for Scurry to step up during the 1995 FIFA Women's World Cup. It says the team went home with a bronze medal after losing to eventual tournament winners Norway in the semifinals and beating China PR in the third place playoff. Most notably marking that tournament, Scurry was sent off in the 88th minute during a group game against Denmark after the 23-year-old stepped out the box with the ball in her hands in an attempt to kick the ball upfield. By that time, the U.S. was up 2-0, but head coach Tony had already used all 3 substitutes, which forced him to play Mia Hamm in the goal. Okay.
Because the Americans are just willing to chase everything and win throw-ins like that. And sharply taken too to Mia Hamm. Twisting and turning. Oh, it's a great turn from Mia Hamm. Brilliant piece of play. And it looked as though the third goal was right on the cards for Venturini there. Superb piece of play. It's a lovely turn from Mia Hamm. And it nearly created the opening. And I'm sure Venturini would have scored if the ball had got back to her.
That's the ref went out for you. Over the top.
But I'm sure at 2-0, the coach Tony Di Chico will settle for that as a result. He'll give a goal difference of 5-3, of course, but he'll be much happier with the overall defensive performance from this match. And the US team physician Doug Brown will be working and getting minds and bodies ready for the third tie of the tournament. And here's a bit of pressure just outside, just inside the area. Ball gathered in by Scurry. Must welcome a touch of the ball. She really has had nothing to do in this match. She clears long. The whistle goes against Scurry, and I think that the linesman has indicated that she actually put a boot outside the penalty area in clearing that ball. And the referee produces a yellow card, and he's got a red card there too. And Scurry, I think, is going to be sent off. Well, controversy here. Right at the end of this match, in the 90th minute, Scurry cannot believe it. Well, I can't, to be honest, either. And disconsolately, she leaves the field. Brianna Scurry is sent off for just overstepping the mark outside her penalty area with that clearance. Now, that is one of the most trivial offences, really. Okay, you can say she shouldn't be taking advantage in that situation, but I find that very hard to believe. It's such a marginal thing as to whether the boot was extended beyond that white line. But the American team is going to be reduced to 10 men for the closing seconds of this game. And Mia Hamm, who has done such a terrific job in attack, is now going to turn into a goalkeeper.
Well, first of all, even the commentator was like, well, that's margins, nigga. How can you tell? Nigga. And they couldn't give us a replay. Obviously, we didn't see her cross the line, obviously. So we just have to believe that she crossed the line when they told us. Her reaction was a non-reaction because honestly, she probably couldn't believe that niggas was like, you crossed the line, nigga. How? Really? Really, nigga? Really? Mm-hmm. But anyways. It says the trivial error proved not to be costly for the U.S. and in fact, most look back now and laugh. Mm-hmm. It was a humiliation ritual. But the incident didn't show a glimpse of what it says. But the incident did show a glimpse of how just young and inexperienced Curry was at the time. See, then they get to name her of how young and inexperienced. When in the fucking video, you didn't even show me that she crossed the line, nigga. You didn't show me that she crossed the line, nigga. We did not see that in that damn video. What the fuck wrong with these niggas? So you get to show me a video where the referee gives her a red card but we don't even get to see the incident and instance of red card. So yeah, okay. See, and that's like did y'all see the video? Did y'all see her cross the red line? You couldn't even see, nigga. The angle of the camera ain't there. There's no way. Let's go back. Just make sure we not tripping. Just to make sure. And ain't no audio for this one. Nigga, did you see her cross the line? Nigga, did you see the cross? Did you see her cross the line? That's what I thought too. I mean, they got instant replay. Damn, nigga. Where the lines at? Nigga, how can you tell where the line at, nigga? Nigga, how can you tell where the line at? Nigga, how can you really tell where the line at? So we trying to say her whole body over the line now? Was she above the line? Look. I mean, if that's supposed to be she's too far above the line. What y'all think? Flunked around. Find out. All right. So she got a red card for this. But these flunk, I couldn't even tell where the line was at. So I mean, I'm not even gonna give her a hard time. I'm not gonna give her a hard time. The trivial error provided not to be costly for the U.S., and in fact, most look back and laugh now. But the incident did show a glimpse of just how young and experienced Scurry was at the time. But only a year later, Scurry proved that the silly errors were behind her as she became the undisputed number one for the team and was able to help the U.S. women's national team provide home gold during the 1996 Summer Olympics in Atlanta. All right, and Atlanta coming up again. So then came the 1999 World Cup. Scurry had a fantastic showing, only conceding 3 goals in the entire tournament. One during a 7-1 win against Nigeria in the group stages, and 2 in the during a 3-2 win against Germany in the quarterfinals. Scurry managed to keep a clean sheet in the final against China PR, which consisted of 90 minutes of regular time plus 2 halves of extra time. Says Sun Wen, who was easily the best player for China, and who would go on to become one of the greatest women's footballers of all time. What? Who is Sun Wen? Who was informed of her life during the tournament? She had already racked up 7 goals and 3 assists during the tournament, a feat that won her both the Golden Ball and Golden Boot after the tournament. Scurry kept her cool through keeping both Sun Wen and her other teammates off the scoreboard. The keeper's big moment came during the penalty shootout when she saved Li Yin's attempt. Fast forward to 8.3. Nigga, we gotta be able to find this video. I know it's gotta be on YouTube somewhere. Christine, Lilly, and Ham were able to give the U.S. women's national team the lead after the save, but China's Zhang Ouyang and Sun Wei subsequently tied it up. Damn. Chastain then stepped up for what would prove to be the final kick of the game as her penalty won the shootout 5-4, winning the World Cup. Chastain's celebration is now part of the sport's lure. but the club will only have. But the goal it says Chastain's celebration is now part of the sport lore, but her goal would have not been. It says, but her goal would have been meaningless had Scurry not made the. Oh yeah, the earlier save. Yeah, so remember Scurry's. Remember we were talking about how Bunny was first in the Holland archetype, similar to Brianna. Like I said, she was first. She had to make the save, so she made the save that needed to be. She made the save that needed to be made. The one that's like, okay, all the players have kicked. This is the last girl, the fourth girl. If I save her, or this is the fifth girl, right? If I save her, this is it, and we make it, we win. So yeah, she saved it because it was gonna go to 6 penalties, obviously. But yeah, the last one. Wow. They've denied she denied what's her name? She saved Liu Yang's attempt. So her save came first, and then Chastain's penalty kick came next, and once again. So the melon so I mean, like I said, if she doesn't make the save, the goal's meaningless. Like I said, the goal's meaningless. But she makes the save, and they score. They go on tour. Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense why she was exiled. Now it makes sense. Once again, Scurry's historic deflection earned the U.S. women's national team their second World Cup title, a feat that no team had yet accomplished. So it also meant Scurry was the first goalkeeper to win both an Olympic gold medal and a Women's World Cup. She will be later joined by Norway's Benit and fellow U.S. women's national team goalkeeper Hope Solo. Scurry and her 19 teammates' performance proved instrumental in pushing for America to develop its own professional league for women. At the time, there was no such league had ever existed. The 20 players demonstrated the need to invest in a game that was clearly growing in the country, and the players succeeded, and the Women's United Soccer Association formed in 2000. It became the world's first women's football league in which players were paid as professionals. But mind you, there was already other leagues for like women to play up, I imagine. But anyways, the WUSA, a league made up of 8 teams, had its inaugural season in 2001, with Scurry joining the Atlanta Beat. She was their starting goalkeeper for 3 seasons until the league dissolved in 2003. While it may not have lasted, the WUS paved the way for the emergence of both the WPS and the NWSL, and now the Gainbridge Super League, which Scurry is the ambassador of, right? So Scurry remained the U.S. women's national team starting goalkeeper until about 2006, winning silver at the 200. Winning silver at the 2000 Olympics in Sydney as a squad member. She did not play due to injury. Gold at the 2004 Olympics in Athens and a bronze medal in the 2030 FIFA Women's World Cup. It says 2007, at the age of 36, she was relegated to second keeper after Hope Solo began to break through. Scurry played a couple games during the 2007 Women's World Cup in China, in which the team won a bronze medal, but was not selected for the 2008 Olympics in Beijing and thus retired from international duty. A year later, the WPS formed, and Scurry was drafted by the Washington Freedom to play in their inaugural season. However, in the second season, she suffered a severe concussion and was forced to not only leave the WPS, but retire from the game for good. Scurry's concussion proved to have a devastating impact on her life. She was unable to work due to persistent migraines, falling into a deep depression, to point that the only things keeping her from suicide was her mother, who was fighting her own battle with Alzheimer's. Scurry spent days just lying on her couch waiting for disability payments to come through. She said, she has said that she longed for a way to escape from the pain, from the fatigue and pain, as well as denigrating financial situation. It says, tragically, Scurry was forced to pawn off her 2 Olympic gold medals in order to make ends meet, a decision she said brought her physical nausea. Thankfully, in 2012, a friend connected Scurry with her now wife, who was able to help her fight the insurance company and get both medals back. I bet that was a whole story too, dog. Damn. In 2013, she had occupational release surgery, a surgery which relieves nerves in the back of the head from the pressure of the muscles compressing them. The surgery has helped with Scurry's pain immensely. She is now an advocate for better resources for women who suffer concussions while playing football and who have symptoms like depression, anxiety, and high irritability. Like I said, these are all walks of like living in a world that has subconsciously programmed the reality around you to do certain things. And then we get diagnosed with things that are not technically should be even in existence due to how we live on this planet. Like I said, like, you know, we're very intelligent beings having to operate a very dysfunctional and distorted paradigm. And like I said, depression, anxiety, high irritability are all like, you know, like I said, not reactions, but it's just like, it's like, nigga, when you can see certain shit, nigga, wouldn't you be depressed all? I'm not saying depressed all the time, but like when you see like your insurance companies fucking you over, nigga, you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought I would have help during my most tragic moments. You know what I'm saying? You thought, you know, like, she had her mama going through situations. She had her own self going through situations. Like I said, hold on now. This her story is only her story. So she says, it says right here, she is now an advocate for better resources for women who suffer concussions while playing football and who have symptoms like depression, anxiety, and high irritability. Scurry has also pledged to donate her brain to CTE research when she passes, a disease that affects so many athletes, yet remains under-researched and is impossible to diagnose in a living person. Oh my goodness. Currently, you can find Scurry acting as a mentor for who? Trinity Rodman. I didn't even know that Scurry was already linked up with Rodman at Washington when she got drafted. So Scurry she been in the low key. Hold on now. But she's been close to Rodman. It's key though. Like she could have been with any other club. Like, you know what I'm saying? When Rodman was born, you know what I mean? Like, obviously Scurry was already, you know, alive doing her thing. But think about this, like how this is so connected. We get more connected to Rodman and Scurry. And that's why it's like I didn't know about this. It says currently you can find Scurry acting as a mentor for Trinity Rodman. This was in 2020. This is in 2021. Who earlier in the year became the youngest player in the NWSL history after being selected to. Who was selected first over Rodman? I'm sorry. Pause. Who was selected one over Trinity Rodman? This is cap. What? This is. We need to. Who was drafted over Trinity Rodman? Because if her name don't ring bells, I'm laughing. I'm sorry. Who was drafted over Trinity Rodman? Because if her name don't ring bells, I'm laughing. Who was drafted over Trinity? I know y'all know, niggas. I know y'all know. Nah, nigga, y'all lucky. I don't got, this is wicked. But anyways, the connection once again with Trinity Rodman, DC Power, now Brianna Scurry, Angel Reese. It just, so Rodman's, once again, let me read the article. Currently, you can find Scurry, this was in 2021, acting as a mentor for Trinity Rodman, who earlier in the year became the youngest players in the NWSL history after becoming selected number 2 in the draft. Rodman's new team, the Washington Spirit, sought out Scurry, who served as an assistant coach for the team back in 2018, to provide the youngster a support system if needed be. Yeah, because Scurry would be. So she's been with Welcoming since 2018. So she's been with NWSL in 2018. So how come we ain't really seen her in the scenes? Like I said, that's why I was like, she's the only mirror we got, like coach wise. Like we see the players now, but I'm just thinking about her story. So she was with Washington back in the cut, and now we got a billionaire, Michelle Kang, with Washington, and now she's over here with Gainbridge. So it's very interesting to see how all that worked out, how all this is. You know what I'm saying? Because it could have been any other team. Because we know she played for the Atlanta Beat, and then she got drafted for the Washington Freedom. So technically, she already had her roots in before. Remember, she's the blueprint. So everything that came after her was all like, she's the blueprint. So everything in totality kind of built off her. From her accomplishments with the U.S. Women's National Team, Scurry was not only hailed as one of the best goalkeepers in the world, but praised as the sole Black woman on the U.S. Women's National Team during their success in the late 1990s and early 2000s. When the National Museum of African American History and Culture, a Smithsonian Institution museum, opened in 2016, she became part of the Title 9 exhibit. What is it? 11? Title 11 exhibit, something like this, which showcased African American women who are symbolic figures of Black ability and who have taken their activism beyond the court to the courtroom, boardroom, and to the newsroom. In 2017, she was inducted into the National Soccer Hall of Fame, becoming the first Black woman and first female goalkeeper. That honor firmly cemented her status as one of the best to ever play. All right, let's watch this.
Ooh. Good evening. That was amazing. You always wonder about how your teammates receive you, and they can always receive you in one way, however you are on the field all the time, or they can receive you for how you are as a complete person. And I'm very happy to see that Joy actually thought I was funny, because as most defenders who've played with me know, I'm not very funny usually on the pitch or during a game. So that was fantastic. It's a really great honor for me to be here. I am overjoyed. I'm overflowing. So many amazing people I've seen that I've known over the years in the last couple of days since being here, and just being here with my family and friends, and having somewhat my two worlds collide, my previous soccer family and my current family. It's been an absolutely fantastic experience for me these last couple of days, so thank you for having me. In everybody's lives, they have the family they were born into, and then they have the family that they choose. And I, for one, was an incredibly lucky person to have the family that I was born into be so incredibly supportive. When I was 8 years old, I remember distinctively sitting on the couch watching the 1980 Lake Placid men's ice hockey team, and I think it's absolutely fantastic that the Winter Olympics are actually going on right now, because it really brought that memory home to me these last couple of days watching the Olympics and seeing that 8-year-old girl that I was watching those games on the couch with my mom and dad. And I remember seeing Jim Craig literally spinning on his head and helping the Team USA beat the Soviet Union at the time. And I remember thinking and saying to myself out loud and my mom and dad, I want to be an Olympian after USA won that gold medal. I want to be an Olympian. That's so cool. And I remember my mom and dad both distinctively saying, you can be an Olympian if it's what you want to be. You just got to go out there and work hard. You can have anything and be anything that you want to be. And as time went on, I became a little bit older and I played different sports. I didn't start playing soccer until I was 12 years old. I played a little tackle football in there somewhere. Thank goodness, that was a lot of fun. For 2 years in 4th and 5th grade, I remember playing softball, running track. And when I was 12 years old, I remember sitting on my bed one afternoon after school and thinking to myself, I wonder what Olympics would be the Olympics I could play in. What Olympics would be the right Olympics at the right time for me? So I remember sitting down thinking about this and distinctively saying, okay, so I'm 12 years old now. I think the first time I would be able to be in the Olympic Games would probably be 1996 in Atlanta. I didn't necessarily know what sport it would be. At the time, I thought it would probably be track. I definitely didn't think it would be ice hockey, obviously. But I remember sitting down on my bed and writing out a sign that said, Atlanta, 1996, I have a dream. And it was an 8x10 piece of paper, and I took that piece of paper and I stuck it on the wall in my bedroom. So every morning when I'd wake up, I'd look at it and see it and remember it and think about it. And then every night when I came home, before I went to bed, I would see that sign. And day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, that sign was there. And I remember saying to my mom and dad, you know, as I grew up, this is what I want to do. I want to be an Olympian. And they said, yes, you can, honey. Yes, you can.
Yo, Brianna Scurry's parents were so supportive. It seems it's unfortunate that her she pretty much subconsciously reprogrammed herself. She was awake at a very early age. It makes sense why she was the first she was the blueprint. I mean, it makes sense, right? You have to have archetypes that already are knowing. She's the first. Like, some niggas will never understand. Because they're, like I said, most people are followers. Unfortunately, they've been programmed to be. But when you're Brianna Scurry, you don't really get that opportunity like that. But her parents were like, yes, you can. You could become an Olympian. They never told her no, you couldn't. And I mean, she said that twice. And that's amazing to hear. Because like I said, I'm still getting to know her. But yeah, she is the ambassador of the Gainbridge Super League, but also inducted to the USA Women's Hall of Fame, obviously. And it ties deeper to more pathways being opened through her, through the new league, Gainbridge. All right.
I was really fortunate to be born into a family that was so incredibly supportive. And particularly my mom and dad were there with me every step of the way, every practice, every game, tournaments, local, across the country, every sport I ever played, they always said, yes, you can. Yes, you can play that. Yes, you can play basketball. Every single time. Only one time they said no was ice hockey, which is ironic, right? Because that's the one that inspired me the most, but that was the one they were like, ooh, that's a little bit too dangerous. We like those sticks, that ice and those blades. So no to that, but yes to everything else. And I was grateful, internally grateful for them. And as I grew up, I started to play soccer a lot more full time, and I got college scholarship opportunities to 70 different scholarships on different schools around the country. Not
She got 70 offers, nigga. Everybody wanted to sign Brianna Scurry, nigga. 70? How many niggas get 70 offers? Think about Brianna Scurry, because she was ahead of her time, but think about a goalkeeper like her. She got 70 scholarship offers. That's crazy. So she was that girl.
just soccer, but also basketball, track, and softball as well. And my parents were very, very keen on me staying local, but they also knew that there might be an opportunity for me to go elsewhere, further away from them, and they were willing to allow that to happen. And they supported me in that. And they loved me, and they cherished me, and they said, you know what, Bri, you got to do what you got to do. You make your decision, and you choose which school is best for you, which program suits you best. And I ended up going to the University of Massachusetts. And at the time, the coach there was Jim Rudy, and he knew Anson Dorrance, and before I knew it, I was on the national team. After my senior year in college, I got called in for November training camp in 1993, and that was the very first training camp I ever had. And at that time, one of the coaches was Tony DeCicco. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not sure what they see in me, but I guess they must see something. And I know I really like it, the opportunity that I have here. So whatever it is that they see, I'm just going to keep showing them that. And Tony said to me on my first exit meeting after my first training camp, after I think I actually allowed over 1,000 goals that week. Because if anybody's ever gone from college to national team, you try to stop Tisha Venturini's shot, Michelle Akers, Karen Gabera, Mia Hamm, all these amazing players that are all in the Hall of Fame now, by the way. Your first time at a young age in my early 20s. And I wasn't always so sure that particular week. I know I liked what I was doing, but I wasn't sure if they were going to invite me back. So I go into my exit meeting, and Tony says, hey, Bri, come on in, have a seat. And I sit down, and he says to me, great job this week. And I look at him, I'm like, really? Are you sure? Are you joking? I must have given up 1,000 goals. He's like, no, you did fantastic. It wasn't about the goals that you gave up. It was about your attitude that you displayed afterwards. It was about the determination you had and the way you conducted yourself after goals were scored. You didn't allow one to end up being 3, 4, and 5 much of the time. Maybe one more, maybe 2, but that's it. So we're inviting you back in again. And I was on cloud 9, on top of the world. And shortly after that, I remember going to Soccer Plus camp later that next year, 1994. And there I went there with Jen Mead. Does anybody remember who Jen Mead is? Anyone? No one? Well, she was one of the most amazing people. She was a fantastic goalkeeper, tall girl, about 5'11", maybe 6 foot. Big girl, fantastic in the air, and just an amazing personality. She and I both went to the Soccer Plus goalkeeper camp to work for Tony. And we were walking down the hallway right before the camp began, and one of the other coaching instructors walked by us and said hello. Now, at the time, I thought for sure that I had acknowledged that other coach, but apparently I hadn't, and later on I found out that she was not too happy with me and thought I was a stuck-up snob for ignoring her and not saying hello. Well, little did I know that she would be someone who would be in my life for the next 25 years. And her name is Carrie Rifle. And Carrie and I have been friends for a very long time, and we went through that soccer camp together and got to be really good friends then and continued our relationship and being in each other's lives for many, many years to come after that. And then as I went on and I played for the national team in 1996, we had our first opportunity to play for Olympic gold medal. And as you all know, we did incredibly well, and it was a fantastic event, and I absolutely loved it because finally, that 12-year-old girl who made that sign that said, Atlanta, 1996, I have a dream, and that little 8-year-old girl who sat on that couch with her mom and dad and said, I want to be an Olympian, was actually standing on a soccer pitch from a place far, far away, Dayton, Minnesota, no one had ever heard of. And I was living the dream that I had at 8, and I was living the dream that I had at 12. And I was playing for my country on one of the most amazing teams to have ever existed in sport, not just men's and women's sports, but all sports. And I had this opportunity to play. And boy, did we play. We came in and we played China. We beat them in the final, as all of you know. And I finally achieved my Olympic dream. And it was outstanding. My parents were both in the stands, and they were so proud. And in 1996, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, she won. She was the first one, or she was the second one. And she's naming some people in her story about that goalkeeper friend. I forgot her name. Wasn't none of the other girls. That's for sure. But we haven't, like I said, she hasn't really gotten any laughs from the collective, but this is the first time they're giving her some claps. I mean, like I said, she's a Hall of Famer. I mean, it's spoken for. Nigga, she manifested this. She created this for herself. Nigga. She had supportive parents. She was the first one in the stands with her. It's like what it's like man.
And in 1996, we became Olympic champions. And I remember that medal being put over my head. And I had a flashback to watching the 1980 Olympic team get the medals put around their necks and over their heads. And I remember thinking to myself, boy, this thing is heavy. Wow, this is so heavy. This is awesome. And I just felt this amazing elation and relief that I had finally made it. After so many years of working and great support from my family, I had made it. And as time went on, 1999 came along, and as you all know, that was an outstanding year. I don't think it could be any better, and it obviously couldn't be any more dramatic, that's for sure. And we had a wonderful experience, and I loved it. And it wasn't until the final game where I really understood what we were about to do and what had happened in this country leading up to that. So when we beat Brazil in the semifinal and we sold out that Rose Bowl in, I don't know, a few hours right after that, that's when I really was like, wow, this is amazing. Everybody's paying attention to this. Everybody is tuned in. And as a player,
Yeah, man. Because like I said, when we all ready to watch the game, like when we all collectively, because we all gonna watch the game at a certain time frame in your geographical location, that energy, y'all, the collective moving, and like the Rose Bowl, probably like how many, like 80,000 plus people, huh? The fact that Dallas Trinity play at the Cotton Bowl, which is like I think 95,000 people, they gotta build up their currency in Dallas, fill up the Cotton Bowl, fill up these bowls of women's football, of women supporters, people, us, the current, to watch the games, to watch the beautiful game, to watch fun football, exciting football, whatever, however it is expressed, however it's expressed. But yeah, let's continue with Brianna Curry. This is her Hall of Fame, National Hall of Fame speech.
Here you try to focus on the task at hand, and you try not to get too caught up, if you can, in everything going on around you. But it's hard. It's hard to stay focused. But that team, we were so tight, we were so together, we were so excited and just having fun doing what we do. And the entire country was having fun following us. You know, we were called the Fun Bus, the Girls Next Door, America's Sweethearts, and all these amazing things leading up to that final. And now we were like, we got to win this thing. So we go into this game against China, and China had been playing spectacularly. I don't know how many of you remember that, but I think they beat Norway like 5-0 in their semifinal, and we had a little bit of a struggle against Brazil. I had one of the best games of my life against Brazil in that semifinal for us, and we squeaked it out 2-0. And I remember going into that final thinking, wow, this is going to be a fantastic game. I'm going to really need to be ready. And we go into that final game, and lo and behold, 0-0 through the first, regulation time. And then that first overtime happened. And they had a corner kick. And one of the Chinese players played it, and it was flying through the air. I remember this so distinctively. Flying through the air, and I make a diving attempt to save it, and I'm nowhere near it. And I'm thinking, oh shit. Right? Dr. Joe, you know what I'm talking about, right? And then the ball comes back out again, and I'm like, oh shit. I scramble to my feet to try to, just in case something comes back at me again, and Brandy bicycle kicks it out to the midfield. And I turn to my left, and there's Christine Lilly, doing what she does, doing her job, heads it off the line. And at that moment, I'm like, we've got this. We've got this game. If that wasn't going to kill it, ain't nothing going to kill it, right? So sure enough, we go on the penalty kicks, and like my teammates said up there, my job was just to save one kick. And I did that, so that was awesome. And my teammates had incredible fortitude in knowing what they had to do as well, and that team was just absolutely outstanding in that way. I mean, we knew what our jobs were, and we went ahead and we were able to achieve and do them and complete them to the best of our ability. And for the next couple of years, I admit, I drank the Kool-Aid a little bit after that 99 World Cup. I lost my fitness a little.
Damn, she admitted she fell back to sleep. Ooh, they rocked her to sleep. Instead of amplifying her momentum, she got rocked. She said that she drank the Kool-Aid, nigga. Oh man, they got you. Hey, listen, it's fucked up, man. You gotta. She said she admitted I drank the Kool-Aid, nigga. Damn. She drank the Kool-Aid. Hey man, hey. But now she back with the Gainbridge Super League, nigga. Now the Kool-Aid ain't tasting like good Kool-Aid no more.
Bit, 25 pounds. That's more than a little bit. But I remember thinking to myself, I need to get this changed. I need to do something about this. I need to fix it. And as I was in pursuit of trying to get my fitness back, I lost my spot. And so in 2000, that Olympic Games right after that, I didn't play a single minute of any game. I think we played 41 games that year. Out of 41 games, I played in 41 games. And that was a very, very humbling experience for me. And as a lot of you know, my career has always been peaks and valleys. There's no in between. I'm either riding high on the top of the mountain, or I am crashing in the bottom. And you know what? That's okay. Because that's really, in the bottom is where you figure out what you're made of. And figure out who you are. And you figure out who your friends are. and what you have inside of you. And I did. And I did some real soul searching during 2000, 2001, and I decided, you know what? I was a great goalkeeper in '99. All of this that happened to me was self-inflicted, and I am the cause of it, and I will also be the solution for it. And I did, and I worked my butt off in 2001, in 2002, and got my job back. I got my starting spot back, went into 2003 in the World Cup, and unfortunately we lost to Germany, who was definitely a very good team that year. Meanwhile, in my personal life, during 2004, my father began to get really ill. And he had a couple of heart attacks, and he was diabetic, and he had his leg amputated below the knee. And he was very ill. And during that summer, 2004, we were training for the next Olympic Games, and I would go home in between training camps almost every single time to see my dad. And he was struggling. But boy, did he have a great attitude. Every time he saw me, he was excited. Every time he had that smile on his face. Every time that twinkle in his eye. Oh, my daddy's girl's home. Daddy's girl's home. And that's when I met Naomi. Naomi was the massage therapist for the national team at that time, and she became a great person in my life. And Naomi and I got to be really good friends during the summer of 2004. And in 2004, in August, my father passed away. And that was a devastating blow to me. He died 2 months before the Olympic Games, in June of 2004. And I went into those Olympics having the most powerful feelings of joy and elation to be able to achieve my Olympic dream again on one hand, and the absolute devastation of losing one of my rocks of my life. And to Naomi's credit, she really helped me through all of that. And as we went on, as you know, we won in 2004 again. That was nice. And it was a sweet time in particular because not only because my father had passed away and we had achieved it, but because my mom was able to come. And that Olympic Games would have been the first time ever that neither of my parents would have been attending. And because my father passed away, my mother was able to come and see. And when I saw her, when we were playing Japan in the quarterfinal game, I don't think I could have felt any more stronger of a presence of both of my parents there during that time. And my mom was an absolute rock. She and my dad had been married for 43 years. And I thought for sure that she wasn't going to be able to live for much longer after he had passed. But she lived for another 11 years after that. And I continued to play on the national team, and in 2004, as you know, we won Olympic gold again, so that was wonderful. And then after that, I decided that I was going to take a year off and reassess and see what I wanted to do with my career. So I stepped away from the game for about a year, and then I came back in 2006, and it didn't go very well for me. I really honestly felt that my game was no longer anointed because my rock, my father, had passed away, and that's how I felt about it. And I didn't play with the great passion and heart that I really thought I should play with, and so then I retired after 2008 Olympics as an alternate. In 2009 and 10, I played with the Washington Freedom in the WPS. And I had a lot of heart and soul and passion for the game, but there was always a little something missing there because of my father passing away. And I continued to try to play, and I played as hard as I could, but there was always a little bit off about it. And in 2009, I suffered a knee injury towards the end of the season, and I was rarely injured. And in 2010, I suffered a debilitating head injury in a game against the Philadelphia Independents, and that ended my career on the field. And it began an odyssey of confusion, of isolation, of depression, of disconnection from anything and everyone I was. And there was times during those 3 years after that head injury that I just didn't understand who I was, what I was doing, why I was still hurting, how come I couldn't find a doctor at the time to help me, why it was taking so long, and why me? And I remember looking and thinking at my gold medals and looking at pictures of me doing amazing things in soccer and thinking to myself, is that me? Did I really do all those things? Am I ever going to be Brianna Scurry again? And in 2013, I finally got to the right doctor who diagnosed me in 10 minutes and said, I'm going to help you. And that was my doctor, Dr. Crutchfield. And as Naomi said, in 2013, I had this operation where I had both occipital nerves dug out of the back of my base of my skull. And I felt like myself again. In 2014, I was struggling a little bit, and then someone else came into my life. Her name is Krissa. And she was someone who came in and helped me when I was really having a hard time and trying to figure out who I was and what I was going to become. And she came into my life and she said, you know what, I think I can help you. And she did. She helped me rearrange my career. She helped me figure out what I could and couldn't do. She helped me get the medical attention that I needed. I went through another year of therapy, and as the time went on, Krissa got to know each other and to become really good friends, and then become really close and become more than friends. And I am happy to say that on June 2nd of this year, we are going to be married. Now, I have had some amazing parents in my life, the family I was born into. And I've also had an amazing experience and fortune to have the family that I chose. Now, Carrie Rifle, who's the person I met at Soccer Plus camp 20 plus years ago, isn't here, unfortunately. And I have nicknames for my friends and my family that I've chosen, and they are called angels. Carrie is my first angel. She's not here. Naomi is my second angel. Will you please stand, Naomi? You guys have all met her, but I would like her to stand. Thank you. And Krissa is my third angel. Krissa, will you please stand? Thank you. So when people ask me, Bri, how do you define success? I define success in many ways. You have to have grit. You have to have heart. You have to have resilience. And it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of luck, a Christine Lilly on the left side of your post when you need it, and 3 angels. Thank you.
Oh. Okay. Brianna Scurry. Hey. Hall of Fame speech, man. Crucial. Her story. In her words. Quite incredible, right? Quite incredible. But yeah, she's hot on the streets right now. Angel, she said it's good to have 3 angels. Angel Reese, Trinity Rodman, the connection continues to run deep. The connection continues to run deep. What should we Man, she told her whole story right there in her Hall of Fame. Let's watch this one. Brianna Scurry on diversity and inclusion. Speaker, the benefits of diversity. Or first female goalkeeper. Yeah. She's the first female goalkeeper inducted to the Hall of Fame. So the first female goalkeeper that's inducted to the first female goalkeeper inducted into the Hall of Fame in America happens to be is Brianna. I'm telling you, first everything, nigga. Gang. Yeah. Let's see. Let's watch this video over here.
Bring to the table matters, and that they're equal. When you have a better understanding of different people on your team, you're better as a team, as a whole. And so when everybody feels like what they have to say and what they bring to the table matters, and that they're equal, it really does something different for a group, and it really brings a real success and a real feeling of being a part of something greater than yourselves.
Beautiful.
It's very interesting. So, how have you witnessed attitudes towards DEI change over your course of your career? And like I said, I don't even know what DEI is. Like, to be honest, I don't even know what that is. So we're not even worried about the question. I clicked on for the title, nigga. The title was benefits on diverse teams. But we're talking about in the realm of football context. So we're just understanding the energy frequency. That's this other shit. This other shit is irrelevant. Fuck the question. What's the frequency?
Yeah, so when I first started playing, I was the only player of color on the national team that had a starting position. And so it was really interesting for me to be a part of that. But of course, my teammates were always wonderful. We had other players of color on the team, but I was the one that had the starting position, an important role. And so over time, I played 14 years on the national team. So over time, we had a lot of different, ethnicities and a lot of different players and different people from different parts of the world, and some first generation players as well on the team. And so it was absolutely amazing. And over time, after my retirement, I noticed that we had a lot more players of color come through on the team and have starting positions and important roles and really impact the team. And then not only that, but we also had a lot of players that were just, doing their thing and embracing not only the role on the team, but also who they were. And of course, when social media came along, that really made an impact and a real difference. And so now players were able to really market themselves, and people were able to get to know them as human beings, behind the scenes and not just on the pitch. And so over time, you see a lot of different types of players. Some players, they have a really crazy, home life away from the pitch, and other players are, more calm and have more of a subdued lifestyle. And so all those different varieties of things that we're able to see nowadays is just really transformed the team and just how these players are able to market themselves to the individuals and to fans.
Okay. Well, like I said, the conversation where how was how are diverse teams beneficial? But she was talking about how, you know, the players get to market themselves on social media. Me personally, I don't really follow. Well, I follow some players on social media, but I don't really be on social media on that type of social media like that. Because if I do follow them, it's mainly just about like, okay, what team are they actually playing for type shit. You know what I'm saying? And besides that, or if they like, you know, talk to us like a collective, like, um, yeah, but yeah, besides that, no, we just need to know, you play for this team, right? All right, cool. Domestically, you know what I mean? So we're just waiting for, I guess, Robin to announce she's gonna sign with DC Power, I believe. Ain't no way. Cause I mean, it's like, cause think about it. If Robin was gonna sign with Europe, wouldn't they have already been announced then? Wouldn't they like, all right, bet we got the contract pulled? What could be the holdup? When are we gonna find out where Robin's going? Like, when are we gonna find out where Robin's going? Is she done with football? Huh? Is she done with football? No, I don't think she's done with football. So we're just waiting. All right, but the next question: what must be done to make sport more inclusive in America? Okay, let's see.
There's a lot of sports out there where they're predominantly, white. For example, here in the United States, ice hockey right now is on TV, and it's the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Stanley Cup final is tonight. And in that sport, it's predominantly white. You don't see a whole lot of players of color. And recently, like the last couple of years, the teams that have made it to the final have had a few players of color on their teams. And so I feel like that adds not only to the fan experience to see some players that look like them, on the ice or on the pitch, but also just players from different backgrounds. When you're a fan and you're watching the highest level and they do the personal pieces or the human interest pieces about these players, about these athletes, it's really intriguing, because I think what it does is it lets people know that they're just like you. And I feel like that's really cool. And in particular, on the women's team now, they had a game recently, and there was a lot of fantastic players playing. They were young players, they were older, and there was a nice mixture. But also, you just need representation is really important. So I think people are understanding more so than ever that having players on the team and the young girls and boys that can see them and that they look like them and they get inspired by that. And so I feel like it's always better to have different types of people on the team, because people have different skill sets, and it helps the team be more successful in the long run for sure.
And also another thing, she's not totally talking just about football. She's talking about which is very interesting, because this is like this YouTube channel is very interesting frequency, and it's but regardless of the fact, some of the rhetoric you get to hear of how they talking points, understand the infrastructure of them behind Brianna Curry. You know what I'm saying? This says, what are the benefits of having diverse sports? So what are the benefits of having diverse teams in both sports and business?
Absolutely. So if you have a diverse team, you have different roles, you have different positions, you have different angles on how you can do stuff and how you can have success in business in particular. You know, a lot of times people feel that only certain folks can do certain industries. For example, you know, STEM, like being an engineer or being a doctor or being in the technical industries. A lot of times people have an opinion and a vision of what a brilliant person looks like, but the truth is you never know where brilliance can come from. And a lot of times if you give people an opportunity and you expose them to these different things that maybe they haven't been exposed to traditionally, you'd be surprised in how well they catch on and how much they can contribute to the team and to the success of the company. And of course, in sports in particular, you know, you have different backgrounds and different ways of coming up into the world. And also what you bring is you bring a passion that might be a little bit different. And then when you have a better understanding of different people on your team, you're better as a team as a whole. And so when everybody feels like what they have to say and what they bring to the table matters, and that they're equal, it really does something different for a group, and it really brings a real success and a real feeling of being a part of something greater than yourselves.
Yeah, man. This is like what type of like what is Brianna Curry in right now? What should business owners prioritize mental Why should business owners prioritize mental well-being in the workplace? Well, to help a better like these are questions that are just obviously they speak for themselves, but it's very like I said it's very interesting. This channel once again this channel Brianna Scurry, diversity and inclusion speaker. The benefits of a diverse team. Yeah. So, Brianna Scurry, why should business prioritize mental health, mental well-being in workspace? Huh? Let's see what she says.
Whew, well, where do I start, right? I mean, mental well-being is so vital. I mean, I've spoken to, you know, hundreds of Fortune 500 companies, different organizations, different groups and associations, and so often when I speak on stage after my speech, people come up to me and they say, "Hey, you know, thank you for sharing and being vulnerable with us about the struggles you've had with your mental health, because I recently either had a friend that had a difficult time, or they themselves have had some struggles that they're dealing with. Or for example, one father came up to me and he said, you know, my daughter has really been depressed and she's been really struggling, and I never thought about it until you said what you were saying about how she might be struggling in all areas of her life after she got hit, you know, had a head injury or had a concussion." And he's like, "I didn't understand that impact it was having on her." And so, you know, he said to me, he's like, thank you for sharing that with us." And it's important. And in this day and age, in particular in the sporting arena, mental health is got a different priority. It's not taboo anymore. There was a stigma around mental health for the longest time, in particularly in sport, where if you weren't able to handle it mentally, you know, that meant you were weak, or it meant you were unprepared, or you weren't as passionate. But that's actually not the truth. We all have our difficult times, whether you're going through something really hard off the field, like I did, for example, during the 2003, 2004 seasons for the national team. My father was really ill. And, you know, of course, as an athlete and as a human, you bring that stuff onto the pitch with you. And for me to be able to talk about it with my teammates, be able to get the time and the space that I needed to make sure I mourned him properly was really, really important for me. And I ended up playing incredibly well that Olympic Games after he passed. But if it wasn't for my teammates having an understanding and allowing me to just get through that and talk through it with them, and they were being there for me, it would have been really, really hard. And so I think what's interesting too about it is everybody has their thing. There's always something going on in a person's life that might be difficult for them to handle, and they may be really struggling with it. So I feel like if you're someone who notices something is going on with a friend or a colleague, you're not expected to handle it. You're not expected to fix it. But what you can do is you can listen. And I feel like that's the most important thing. If you realize that somebody in your work or at home or in your community is really struggling with something, all you have to do is listen. It really goes a long way.
Like I said, this, I believe, when was this video posted? But this is not we have some other videos. I think this was 3 months ago. But this is the Diversity and Inclusion Speaker Agency. Okay. So what do you want your audiences to take away from your public speaking? Okay.
So for me, I made a lot of impact the first 40 years of my life with my teammates and on the national team, whether it was Olympic team or World Cup team. We made an impact and a ripple effect for millions of young girls and boys and everywhere, all over the world. So in this current 40 years of my life, I have basically used speaking as my sport. Speaking is my craft. So when I go into a speech, I prepare properly. I have a meeting with the people who've hired me because I want my speech to be very, very memorable. And for folks, when they see me speak and they hear me speak, that they think to themselves, yeah, she was a great speaker. I got something out of that. So I'm very intentional about that. And so when I go into a venue and I'm hired by someone, I am a steward of their confidence. I am a steward of the financial outlay that they did and the faith and trust that they had in me to come to their event and speak and inspire and connect with whoever's in that room. And it's an important thing to me. So I prepare for a speech the same way I used to prepare for a game. What can I control? I want to have the right words to reach the person that I need to reach. And so when I'm done speaking, people feel like, you know what, that hour or however long was worth it. Because so many times in this day and age, from what I'm told, when you have speakers, they're talking about their agendas and they have certain things that they want to discuss. And there's a lot of things that's necessary for. But for me, I want you to see in my journey yourself. Hey, she went through this difficult thing and I'm going through something difficult. And she just said, let me try this or do that. Or, yeah, my friend is really struggling with her mental health. Maybe I can just go and listen. She said, it's important to listen and not try to fix her. I'm just going to go and listen and be a good friend. Or, hey, my kid's really struggling with this or that in school. Maybe I could just sit her down and say, hey, honey, tell me what's on your mind, what's on your heart. And so when I go and I speak with people, I want them to be able to take away from that speech something that they can use in their life. And I want them to see a piece of themselves in me. And so that is how I make a bigger impact than I made in the first 40 years of my life in the second 40 years on the stage.
Okay. Put the transmission, Diversity and Inclusion Speaker Agency. So if you wish to book Brianna Scurry in your next event, so she can go talk about Very interesting. That's a very interesting this agency. I don't, you know what I'm saying? But did y'all see this video? Oh, I'm not gonna watch the video, but she's this is the video that I saw. I was like, oh, so she's on the streets, right? She's here. This is Brianna Scurry and Ali Wagner on how the past will shape the future of women's soccer. And like I said, I don't even know who. Nah, the past. If you look at the past, there's only one Brianna Curry. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. What's this one? Man. She had to have so much stuff. Sports. She's a whole template. Look at all. Like she's a whole. They did a whole research study on her. Statistics. Damn. Like her story is quite. I'm glad she's an ambassador of the women of the Gainbridge Super League and out away from the NWSL, because I feel like brain injury. She manifested her she manifested becoming an Olympian. She did all this stuff. Her parents were so supportive. She ended up losing her parents along the ride, and that collision that ended her on the court, on the field of football. Like, damn, what a tragic incident, bro. And then was nobody there to help her out? That everyone just left her? Insurance. So collectively, no one in the world could have helped Curry financially. No one a part of her team. They all had their own livelihoods. Damn. But she did have some archetypes that come through for her, as she called it in her in her Hall of Fame speech. You know what I mean? My life was so broken, I pawned my Olympic medal, but she got him back. And now she's a part of the Gainbridge Super League, here to take over. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, the fact that she's back on the street, she's back outside, just shows that this Trinity Rod, like I said, you're like, well, why are we talking about Brianna Curry? First of all, she's the first ever one. She's the first ever Hall of Fame goalkeeper. And she represents Nita. She's the first one. And she did it with the 1990s. She was the one that made the save right before Brandon Chastain made the goal. So now we know the story. Now we know the story through our lens. I was like, oh, okay, 1990s. Yeah. And then they went on to make a whole movement. Yeah, she was the one lone ninja in the collective. You know, you really don't see her too much, but now she back outside with the Gainbridge Super League. And like I said, she's an ambassador with some other archetypes. Caitlin Clark also is an ambassador. But also DC Power, Angel Reese co-owner, bid for Trinity Rodman. So we're here now. And like I said, all of a sudden I saw Brandy Chastain and Brianna Scurry on CBS. And then I saw this article. And then I saw this one with her and Ali Wagner on The Athletic. So I was just like, hold on, these are too like coincidental. Like, why all of a sudden y'all talking to Brianna Scurry? Like, how come she just popped on the timeline all of a sudden? They ain't slick, but they're reactionary. Let's read. Should we read a little bit into it? Huh? Let's see. Hold on. Let me go to AI real quick. Brianna Scurry, first are not forgotten. They set the blueprint. They never speak alone. And also, the rhetoric is still the same. Everyone is telling Robin to go to Europe. Like, if you go up and down the streets, everyone is telling oh shit. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, we might listen to this one. Oh yeah, this is a audio. Yeah, we might fuck around with this one because you know what I'm saying, but let's go. Okay, I forgot about this one. And she wrote a book, Brianna Scurry. But yeah, she back outside on the street, outside, right? I'm just like, okay. And now that she's back, and we just connected her to the Gainbridge Super League, and we just disconnected from the NWSL, so it's like it's perfect. They're trying to reconnect her to the 1990s, and those ninjas are connected to the NWSL, and it's just like, nah, y'all ain't slick. Y'all not slick. You not slick. She's an ambassador of the Gainbridge Super League. By product, she's in proximity to DC Power, and DC Power bid for Washington Spirit's Trinity Rodman. She's already linked to Washington Spirit. She was an assistant over there already. She was already mentoring Trinity Rodman. So it's just like, man, Brianna Scurry's kind of been in the game. She's already been with Rodman, and you know what I mean. So it's like, this could have been her idea the whole time. She's like, no, I found my way out, Brianna. You know what I mean? Listen. It says, what we know about Scurry's connection. Scurry was named a brand ambassador for the sponsor Gainbridge, the company that backs the entire Gainbridge Super League, because Gainbridge is this league's entitlement and financial service partnership. That effectively links Scurry to the league's structural grid, sponsorship, and youth programs, outreach, branding, etc. Scurry has recently appeared publicly working with clubs and events under the USL/Gainbridge Super League. For example, once again, what's the connection means in my language? Scurry is one of the strongest melanated archetypes in U.S. women's soccer history. A pioneer, a World Cup and Olympic champion, a Black woman who's broken barriers, a brand ambassador. She brings all the ancestral energy into the new league's grid. Her presence signals that the Gainbridge Super League wants authentic Black feminine lineage, not just tokenism, PR representation. She anchors a community between the old generation and the new timeline. This link helps validate the new league for melanated athletes. A new domestic path that's not just about money, but about visibility, heritage, identity, and healing. If Rodman and other melanated stars join the league, then Scurry's legacy anchored there provides a spiritual blueprint for them, showing there's a pathway ahead for melanated excellence outside the old system. And like I said, we have to create a system outside their system because it's like, because in their system, they're like at the head and we're like, nah, nigga, that just can't work. It can't work like that. It can't work like that. Now, like I said, now the fact they didn't want to link it to because now it's like Angel Reese getting linked to Trinity Rodman, and now Gainbridge is linked to Brianna Scurry, the other 19-9er. Because the other NWSL 19-9ers are all up in the NWSL, right? Or like panelists, and usually they do USA Women's National Team stuff usually. But they're more connected to the NWSL, obviously. She's the first one. And like I said, even if you don't see her on any of the USA Women's National Team panels when they do US Women's National Team matches, do you? No. She could be a commentator just like them, right? She could be our faith, but did they ever offer her a job? I don't know. Did they, Brianna? Did they offer you a job to be a speaker? Maybe you know what I'm saying? But they got Shannon Box. They got Shannon Box. All right, let's tap into this real quick. Let's hear it's a 44 minutes, so prepare yo ears. It says a brain injury cut short Brianna Curry's soccer career, but it didn't end her story. Thank goodness, right? All right, she got her book. It says, Brianna Scurry, My Greatest Save, The Brave, Barrier-Breaking Journey of World Champion Goalkeeper.
There, I'm Terry Gross. My guest, Brianna Scurry, is one of the most celebrated players and one of the top goalkeepers in the history of women's soccer in the U.S. She won a World Cup in 1999 and 2 Olympic gold medals. The first was in 1996, which was the first time women's soccer teams competed in the Olympics. She's the only African-American woman in the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame. A photo of her hangs in the Smithsonian National Museum of African-American History and Culture. And she's pretty sure she's the only black lesbian goalkeeper who has been on the cover of a Wheaties box. Her soccer career ended abruptly and painfully in 2010 when she was playing in the new Women's Professional Soccer League, and a player from the opposing team collided with her knee crashing into Scurry's right temple. It left Scurry with a traumatic brain injury, resulting in constant, excruciating headaches, blurred vision, cognitive problems, depression, despair, and poverty. She was unable to work, and the league soon collapsed, so she had no soccer medical team or training facility to help her. Her insurance company kept denying her money for the surgery she needed to repair the nerve that was the source of her pain, and she was reduced to pawning her 2 gold medals. How she got them back and ended up marrying the woman who made that possible is just one of the stories she tells in her new memoir, My Greatest Save. Brianna Scurry, welcome to Fresh Air, and I'm so glad you're feeling better and that you're back in life again.
Oh my goodness, Terry, it's such an honor to be on the show and speaking with you. Yes, I am doing incredibly well, so thank you for that and for having me.
I want to start by asking you to describe your point of view on the field as a goalkeeper and how your version of the game is different from the rest of the teams.
Yes, so goalkeeping itself is a bit of interesting undertaking. A lot of people consider goalkeepers to be a little bit crazy, including a lot of my teammates. So my point of view is actually very intriguing. I am considered the general of the team. One thing I do is I stop attacks, but then I start offensive attacks as well. And so the goalkeeper is an acquired taste. We are very instrumental in all aspects of the game. And oftentimes, a great goalkeeping game can result in a win. The one thing that I've always appreciated about goalkeeping is I can prevent the other team from winning.
Yeah, your most famous emergency save was at the 1999 Women's World Cup. This was a game against China. And it was was a penalty kick at the end of the game. And you basically jumped horizontal to the ground to keep the ball from getting into the goal. How do you even get in that position physically?
So the goalkeeping shootout for a major game like that is a very interesting proposition. So we train for it pretty much every day in training leading up to that event. And then you also actually hope you don't have to be in a shootout. But when you find yourself in one like I did in 99, I was supremely confident. We had trained it. We had talked about it. I had done some sports visualization with the sport doc on that. And that third kicker, my normal MO, method of operations for penalty kicks, is to not look at my team's kicks, nor do I really look at the opposing player walking up to the penalty spot. And on that particular kicker, that third kicker, as I was walking into the penalty area to present myself for the save, I heard something in my mind say, look. So I actually looked at her and watched her approach the penalty spot, which is something that I normally didn't do. And I knew right then that that was the one I was going to save.
When you're defending against a penalty kick, do you have to decide whether you're going to move left or right before the kick even happens?
That is an age-old question in goalkeeping training. So for me, I was taught certain cues by my college coach at UMass, Jim Rudy, who had diagrams and had research on tendencies and percentages. For example, the run-up to the ball, the angle of the run-up, the distance that player is from the ball, whether they're right or left-footed, what surface of their foot they're using, whether they're using their instep or they're using the side of their foot. All of these different things come into play. So I would say there is a precise mathematical procedure to go through in my brain when I see a kicker approach the ball. That it happens obviously in light speed. And then also an instinct that has nothing to do with all those stats inside of me that makes me know if I want to go a certain direction or not. And then in that moment with that third kicker, time slowed down. I know you've probably heard many athletes talk about being in the zone. Well, as soon as I was walking into that goal, I was in the zone. And I knew, so everything she did was slow motion and very clear. She opened her hips up. She approached short from the same side. I saw her inside of her foot she was using. And so I knew exactly where she was going before she kicked the ball.
It's remarkable that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your first of 2 Olympic gold medals was in 1996, and this was the first time that there was women's soccer competition in the Olympics. So it had to have like special meaning for you and for soccer fans throughout the United States. But it was the early days of women's soccer, and it wasn't that long ago. What did your win mean to the future of women's soccer?
That's a fantastic question. So I was 8 years old, sitting on the couch with my mom and dad on either side of me, watching the 1980 Lake Placid ice hockey team beat the USSR in the semifinal game 4-3. And as you know, they had lost to them 10-3 before that. And so seeing that game somehow at 8 years old, I was so inspired. I rose up from the couch and declared to my parents that I wanted to be an Olympian. And they thankfully were nurturing of that little inspiration and helped me hone my skills in all different sports through high school. And I made this sign when I was about 15 years old that said, Olympics 1996, I have a dream. And at that point, I figured about that time I would be old enough to actually participate in the Olympic Games. And so I had a bit of a roadmap that I had created, not really knowing the power of what I was doing at the time. But that roadmap led me to the Olympics in 1996. And soccer just so happened to be, like you said, a brand new sport that was allowed into the Olympic Games. The soccer has been the most popular sport throughout the world. And the Olympic Committee decided that women's soccer was on the upswing and deserved to be in that Olympic Games. And so I found myself at the exact right place at the right time. In addition to that, that Olympics was considered the Olympics of the woman. And for women's soccer, it was literally an explosion. We had 76,000 people at our Olympic final, and it was a glorious and fantastic evening. I saw so many different people that I knew from my childhood and growing up. And that game not only did amazing things for women's soccer, but also for women's athletics in this country. And so women's soccer started to explode in that time period.
So in the mid-1990s, during the period of the Olympic win, the first Olympic win, you helped fight for some semblance of equity for women's soccer. And what you were asking for in those early days seems so small. I mean, what were you asking for then?
So back then, that was the beginning.
And I don't say small to belittle it, but I mean, things were so disproportionate that comparatively,
yes.
Yeah, you had to start someplace.
Absolutely. No, you're right. You're right. We had to start someplace, and where we started our battle with U.S. soccer was with resources. So, for example, we were asking for the same number of massage therapists that the men's team had. We were asking for similar hotel quality. We were also asking for no middle seats on planes, potentially first class and business class, but at the very least, windows and aisles, because we often took these routes to games and to training sessions that were ridiculous, multiple three and four flights instead of having direct flights. There were so many inequities back then in certain things, mostly resources and conditions, that we wanted to equalize. Also, right before the Olympic Games, we wanted to make sure that we were going to get a bonus for silver and bronze as well. Like, the expectation of the federation was that the women needed to win to get any bonuses, and we didn't think that was fair. We thought a medal of any color deserved reward, and so the federation was very precarious. They were very, against giving the women their just due.
Well, we'll compare what men got to what women got.
So, for example, we were allowed to have $10 a day for per diem for women. And back then, the men made $25 to $35 a day. And the explanation for that was that men eat more. Which, but here's the irony in that statement is per diem was not used for eating because meals were provided. The per diem was for other activity and for your stay for that day.
And what about what men got for medaling compared to what women got?
So the men were not only going to receive, tens of thousands of dollars per player, for medaling, but they also were going to receive tens of thousands of dollars for advancement out of the round robin group into the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the final. Never mind actually winning anything. They were going to receive money each step of the way. And so that was one of the biggest glaring issues back then was pool money is what they call it, pool money for certain positions out of the tournament. The higher, obviously, the further you go, the higher the money is.
What did women get for medaling?
Well, the Federation wanted to give us, I think, $1.2 million as a whole, the entire team, for winning gold, and nothing for silver, and nothing for bronze, and nothing for advancement. So it was very, very glaring differences. Their expectation of the women's team in order to get any reward or money was to win the whole thing, whereas the standard for the men's team was just to get out of the round robin play in order for them to get a bonus.
Damn, did y'all know about that? Have we ever heard this story before? She's spilling the tea. So the men, they were just getting paid to exist. And look, yo, US Soccer, they still trying to get them niggas off the ground, nigga. It's America's own fault that the USA men can't get themselves off the ground. Y'all don't like football. Y'all don't like that type of sport. The people that football appeals to, like I said, I don't even watch MLS, but the football that people are watching is women's football in America. No one's watching men's football in America. Unfortunately, that's how y'all set it up. That's how y'all set it up. Not us. Like I said, I'm in women's sports. I'm not in men's sports. And now we got 2 leagues. Excuse me. Now we just got 1 league because I only see 1. Gainbridge Super League. Once again. So yeah, y'all got paid just to exist to advance out of the Robin Cup. LOL. So the women were gonna get paid 1 million, but they had to win it all, and they weren't gonna get any money if they advanced. That's crazy. It's like how does someone actually draw up paperwork like this? Like y'all were like completely, and it makes sense that they would actually. I believe them. I believe her totally 100% when she said that this is what's the paperwork. They had to win the whole thing just to get any money, and if they didn't, oh fucking well. This is why this is just a. But the men over here suck when they're the ones that should. Anyways, but I'm not surprised. Patriarchy, all embedded in America. All embedded in America. But Brianna Scurry was the only lone range ninja in the whole collective. So she used her eyes and ears back in these days streets. So she dropped a bomb. All right, let's continue. Roll up real quick. I'll read a little bit of the article. How about that? We'll read a little bit of the article. A brain injury cut short Brianna Scurry's soccer career. It didn't end her story. Once again, soccer star Brianna Scurry still remembers the day she knew she wanted to be the Soccer star Brianna Scurry still remembers the day she knew she wanted to be an Olympian. It was 1980, and Scurry was 8 years old and watched on TV as underdog men USA Olympics ice hockey team beat Team USSR in Lake Placide, New York. I was so surprised. I rose up from the couch and declared to my parents that I wanted to be an Olympian, Scurry says. They thankfully were nurturing of that little inspiration and helped me hone my skills in all different sports through high school. And like I said, I've had the same kind of moment when I was watching. I think I told you the story before. I was watching USA versus England, and it was Kristen Press's goal, right, against England, right, for USA. One where she puts her hands up, right? So that was the goal that triggered to me. I was like, hey, I want to be a coach. And I went on a path, and look, and we over here now. So it says Scurry would go on to become one of the top goalkeepers in the history of U.S. women's soccer. She won 2 Olympic gold medals in 1996 and 2004, and a World Cup in 1999. But her soccer career ended abruptly in 2010 when she was playing in the new Women's Professional Soccer League, and a member of the opposing team collided with her, crashing her knee into Curry's right temple. That's crazy, bro. My whole life changed after that moment. Curry said, I knew there was something really wrong. That was my last soccer game I ever played. It says, my whole life changed. That's right. It's like the collision left Scurry with a traumatic brain injury, which resulted in consistent, excruciating headaches, blurred vision, cognitive problems, and depression. She was unable to work, and the league soon collapsed. And it's like perfect timing for the league. It was perfect timing for the league to collapse. Because it makes you wonder. It's like, damn, she collapsed. They collapsed too. Makes us wonder. Leaving her without a medical team or training facility to help her. To make matters worse, Scurry's insurance company refused to cover the surgery. That's crazy too. Like, how are y'all niggas not covering the surgery? Like, really, nigga? Like, think about it. Y'all not covering the surgery is crazy. It's like capitalism, the world we live in, nigga. This is, people are gonna die if they don't have these things. People are gonna suffer if they don't have these things. People, it's like, but we're not here helping each other out. So, like I said, once again, she was humble. The league collapsed when she ended up. It's not a coincidence. So you're trying to tell me when she got collided with, her career, her soccer career ended, and the league collapsed right after that? That's what's crazy. Ain't that a crazy coincidence? I don't know. There must be something to it. Niggas, he trying to tell me you were unable to work and soon the league collapsed? Like, the league should have been operating, still available. Why did it collapse? Man. Wow. It makes you wonder, huh? To make matters worse, Scurry's insurance company refused to cover the surgery. She needed to repair that nerve that was the source of the pain, and she was reduced to pawning her 2 gold medals. It was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. Scurry says of selling her Olympic gold medals for $18,000. So, like I said, nobody in USA Soccer can help her out. $18,000. But it was just, she said, but it was just a patch and a temporary fix. I needed to get some stability in order to continue to press forward and get some help I needed. Scurry credits Krista, the woman who would become her wife, with helping the pressure the insurance company into covering the surgery and therapy. So what did Krista say that got you to do it? Huh, niggas? Like, it doesn't make any sense, nigga. She had to have another spirit be manifested to make sure y'all do the right thing. Damn. Anyways, and helping her buy back her Olympic gold medals. In 2017, Curry became the first Black woman to be inducted into the National Soccer Hall of Fame. She tells her story in the new memoir, My Greatest Save. Highlight interviews on fighting for equity and resources with the U.S. Soccer Federation, like per diems, air travel, and prize money. Just a little insight. Let's continue listening then over here. All right, read a little bit.
So what leverage did you and your teammates use to improve, to take a step forward toward equity?
So we felt in 1995 that we had some leverage at that point in time because the Olympics were just around the corner and we were in fact favored to win. So myself and 8 of my other teammates basically decided to go on strike against the Federation. We risked not only our livelihoods, but also our dreams. Like I said earlier, I was an 8-year-old girl who wanted to be an Olympian. And here I was at the precipice of potentially achieving a lifelong dream, and I was risking it for something that was greater than myself. We knew that the Federation would have to cave eventually, but boy, were they mean and nasty in the process. I mean, they said some very unsavory things about us as players, and all we were trying to do was provide equity for not only ourselves, but for all the women that would come behind us and don the jersey and represent the United States of America in soccer. We wanted to make sure that that playing field was more level. And they were very, very, strong-willed and had iron fist about it. But eventually, we got what we wanted.
And what did you get?
So we did get bonuses for silver if we won. So we compromised there. And also the circumstances and the conditions with the resources that I mentioned, increasing the number of massage therapists, things like child care. The per diem went up to $25 from $10. So we did actually make a lot of great gains, but there was obviously a lot more things that had to be handled. But in subsequent CBAs, which is collective bargaining agreements, we were going to attack those things in the future.
As you say in your memoir, soccer is often thought of in the U.S. as a white game. And you were always like the only black person on the team. And that starts from when you were, a teenager to when you were, playing professionally and in the Olympics. Correct me if I'm wrong here. It's certainly not a white game in Africa or in Latin America or in China. How did it get so white in the U.S.?
So unfortunately, soccer's roots and its progression was in the suburb areas because A, it was an expensive sport, and B, you needed space to be able to, green spaces in order to play. So the sport of soccer grew rapidly in the suburban areas and not nearly as much in urban areas. And in my career, it was interesting for me because my mom and dad moved from Minneapolis, St. Paul, into a rural, predominantly white area in Dayton, Minnesota. And so that's the reason I was even exposed to soccer in the first place.
What impact did it have on you to, especially in the early days of women's soccer, have so few black people in the stands?
It was difficult to not see more people like me. But the interesting thing that I found was I was so driven and was so passionate about my dream of being an Olympian, and I was so lucky and fortunate and grateful to be able to have that opportunity be through soccer. Soccer became the vehicle for that. I didn't have too much difficulty being the only one because I knew I was blazing a trail for myself and for others to come behind me. But I also knew that more representation of women of color on the team was necessary and relevant. And so I really advocated for more women of color to play on the team. Not only did I work with different organizations like the Boys and Girls Club of America, different sponsors like Allstate and Pepsi, who helped me essentially go to the urban areas and tell young girls in junior high and high school about the game of soccer. And so I did a lot of these different events, and sponsorships helped me. And I had one incident. I was at a Boys and Girls Club event, and one of the young girls, who was 12 years old roughly, a young African-American girl, she said to me, she goes, "I didn't know black people played soccer."
Yeah.
And right there in that moment basically encapsulates the whole problem, right? She didn't know.
Were you still always the only black player on your teams?
When I, unfortunately, after my mom passed away in 2015, I went to the house and cleaned out her hope chest. In there, she had a stack about 10 inches high of all the photos of all the teams I played on when I was younger. Softball, basketball, soccer, all the different sports I played. And I looked at every photo, and I was the only Black player on every single team and every single one of those photos. And so it has been something that I've always dealt with, but it really, for me, within my teams, my teammates, my ability to playing against opponents, I never had any issues with that. I think I found issue with the media and also potentially with sponsors that maybe didn't think that an African-American gay player was someone that they wanted to get behind and represent. So I felt like I was somewhat discriminated against in the media and with sponsorships, but never from my own teammates.
You know, it's interesting that your parents decided to move to a white rural suburb of Minneapolis, because the reason why they moved north in the first place, they were both from Texas, was because a friend who was married to a white woman went to another town where he was lynched for being married to a white woman. At least that's your understanding of what happened. And then they end up moving to Minneapolis and settling in, you know, a white town and raising you there.
Yes, they did. They had a lot of issues with Jim Crow in Texas. I have so many family members in Galveston in particular, in Houston. And my mom and dad decided that it was time to go, and they did move up north. And for the longest time, I wondered why they moved there at that time. And it was through the research and doing the book with Wayne Coffey that we found out the reason why they moved, and were able to put that in the book. And I feel like my mom and dad made a lot of interesting decisions in their lives, and I feel had they not made that one, you and I probably wouldn't be speaking.
So you've always been out as a lesbian, but never made a thing of it publicly because you never were in the closet, so never felt the need to like come out and make any proclamations. But I want to quote something you say that your mother told you after she suspected that your girlfriend was your girlfriend. and she said to you, "When I was your age, I did the same thing. It's good to have those friendships, but in time I got past it. It was just a phase for me. I'm not upset at all about whatever you and Kelly were doing, but don't make it a habit." I wonder what you think your mother meant when she said, "When I was your age, I did the same thing."
I think what she meant was that she probably had very, very close relationships and probably experimented intimately with some of her friends when she was younger, her female friends when she was younger, and that was just something that curious young people did. I think that's what the intent was there for her. She was interesting and candid about that. And the interesting thing, too, about her was my mom was a very free spirit. She was my heart. When I think about her, I think about someone who was strong, who was bold, who was willing to speak her mind. And I'm grateful that I got those traits from her. But I think what she meant for sure was, you know, it's okay to experiment at this point in your life, but don't make a habit out of it, as if to say, don't necessarily think that girls are where you're going to be. You'll probably end up marrying. Or probably what she meant was, you know, in her generation, in her time, when she was younger, that wasn't something that was necessarily, shined upon. It wasn't necessarily something that you continued with. And it was understood that it was a phase. And I think that's what she was trying to say to me.
Were you surprised that she said that she did the same thing when she was
Yes.
your age?
I was.
Like, I can't imagine my mother saying that.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you say it was the end of the discussion. I never spoke to my parents again about my sexuality. Why did you feel like you couldn't? Because, a lot of parents could not say, I tried that when I was young. So it seems like your mother would be more open to the idea.
Yeah, I thought she would be more open. And it was interesting because there were just parts of my life that I kept to myself with regards to my parents. And I think that was one of them at that time in my life. But it was later on. I literally would bring my girlfriends home to visit my mom and dad, and they knew very well who they were and what the relationship nature was. And I think it was just understood, and it wasn't necessarily something that had to be spoken, especially since as I got older, they realized that I didn't talk about boys that much. I wasn't, trying to get married, at least to another male. And so I think they understood over time that is in fact who I was, that I was gay, that it wasn't a phase, and that it was something that I indeed was going to make a habit out of.
Were they warm to your girlfriends?
They were really warm to my girlfriends. Actually, I made a point to take, my latest girlfriend to see my mom and to let her meet her before she passed away, and that was Krissa. In late 2014, I took her to Minnesota to meet my mom. And as I mentioned in my memoir, my mom had Alzheimer's, and she remembered me, which is great, but she was declining, and I wanted to make sure that she met Krissa before she passed away.
And Krissa is now your wife.
Yes, she is. She is now my wife.
You started playing for the new Pro League Women's Professional Soccer, and in 2010, your career ended after a life-changing concussion. It was a traumatic brain injury. Would you describe what happened?
In the first half, I bent over for a low ball coming from my left-hand side. And as I was going to make that save, and I was bent over, the attacking player came from the right-hand side and trying to get her toe on the ball in front of me, crashed into the side of my head with her knee, and I never saw her coming. And so because of the fact that I didn't see her, I couldn't brace at all for it.
I don't know about you. Yeah, bro, I would have been mad at that player for a long, long time too. Like she practically, yeah, and like I said, I mean, can you say Curry? You can't say without a doubt that she was targeted, but it's just like, wow. Like we see those plays are very dangerous, but it's just like, damn, so reckless, so unprofessional. Especially if you're going at that, and like I said, if Curry's the only representation, it's just like, damn, and that's why. Gainbridge Super League, bro. Here we come. Look, we're almost done here. Let's listen to the rest of this. But yeah, she's there. This lady that she's being interviewed by. This lady she's being interviewed by. Going to obviously some very sensitive. They're using Brianna Curry's obviously life for people to look at as a blueprint and how she operated with her parents and stuff like that. So she's practically teaching people what she did with her family and everything, for those to come. So at the same time, even though they feel like they're exploiting her, she gets to actually tell her narrative of what her mother actually thought about the message she left, what her parents thought about her sexuality and how she operated, just to tell her story. And I think this is a better one than the videos that we watched. This one's, even though the questions about lynching, like she was alive during Jim Crow. Like her parents, you bring up some sensitive topics about people being off the racism that's still obviously running rampant in America. Just rebranded, obviously. But so yeah, it's very interesting. Her Brianna Scurry, bro, shit. She brings a whole interesting timeline to the Super League as one of their ambassadors. Like her story is very incredible. Compared to everybody else's, they ain't got nothing on Scurry, bro. They ain't got nothing on this woman.
So I was completely exposed. She crashed into me. We bundled over. And of course, my first thought was, did I make the save? Sure enough, I had the ball in my hands. And then I stood up and my whole life changed from that moment. And I knew there was something really wrong at that point. Normally, I had concussions before. You get some blurry vision, you get some sensitivities, and then the moment it fades away, like the wave of the emotions and the issue fade away and you get clarity again. But I wasn't getting clarity. I was tipping to the left, the jerseys were blurry, the names on the jerseys were blurry, and at halftime, which blew maybe 7-8 minutes later, I was walking off the pitch and I was listing to the left as I was walking. And my trainer came in to the pitch to meet me, and she grabbed my hands and she said, "Bri, are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And that was the last soccer game I've ever played.
Did you ever watch video of that collision?
Yes, that video, that collision is actually on YouTube. If you type my name and Philadelphia Independence, Washington Freedom, you can see it. And the interesting thing about that clip is the collision doesn't look all that severe in the moments that you see. But the problem was, and I learned this later, was the location of where she hit me in the temple is the most sensitive area to get hit. And most people who have really long-term damage and issues and symptoms with their concussions are usually people that got hit in the temple. And then also, I didn't have a chance to brace, and I never saw her coming. And she actually tries to stop. You can see it in the video, but unfortunately, she didn't stop enough.
What's it like for you to watch the video?
For the longest time, I was mad at her. I found out what her name was and exactly who she was. And for several years, I was angry at her for putting me in this position, for not avoiding contact with me. And I realized over time that my anger towards her wasn't helping me. And that I, at the time, for a long time, wished I could undo it, that I could undo that hit. And when you're in an emotional state, like a concussion, you are essentially disconnected from yourself. And I had all these symptoms, and I was so angry at her, and I prayed so many days. I was like, why couldn't you have just missed me? You know, because I was a different person now. I changed. Emotionally, I was different. My confidence, my focus, all these different things. And I was so lost in the wilderness is what I call it. Lost in the wilderness. I was disconnected, and I just was so mad at her for hitting me and making my life go off the rails like she did.
But you changed your attitude eventually?
Eventually I did, yes. I was able to, with a lot of therapy, so I was in that state of emotional distress. I had emotional and physical symptoms. I had depression. I once stood on the ledge of a waterfalls in Little Falls, New Jersey, and contemplated suicide. The railing where the falls were was really low, and the water was just rushing over the falls, and I could feel the mist of that water on my face, and I contemplated jumping over. And I knew if I did that, I wouldn't survive it because I couldn't swim. And the water was so high because it had rained just recently. And I knew if I go into this water, I'm never coming out. But what stopped me was the image of my mom and some official, some law enforcement official, knocking on her door and notifying her that her baby was gone. I couldn't do that to her. So that image got me off the ledge and onto some solid ground, literally. And after that, I decided I wasn't going to commit suicide while my mother was alive, because I just couldn't do it to her. And that was the beginning of my journey back to me.
Oh, yeah, man, that's. I didn't know she was gonna drop that on us. Yeah, but uh, can you walk? Can you put yourself in her shoes? You're a successful goalkeeper, first of your kind, and some player runs into you. You can't brace. She changes your whole reality. You get disconnected from yourself. You actually want to end your life because the resources, the league collapsed. There's no resources provided for you. There's no resources provided for you after injury. Like, that's pretty much what happened. No resources were accessible. No one was there to help you recover, to become to rehabilitate who you were. When people get injured, they need some extra help, and there was no one really there until someone came there, right? And good thing that she married her the one girl that came to help. You know what I'm saying? She a real one. But let's continue. But she made a decision not to take her life. And now that she didn't, we over here in the Gainbridge Super League, and DC Power, I guess they're only days away from to announce the signing of Trinity Rodman. I'm just going to continue to speak this into existence. Trinity Rodman to DC Power, nigga. Just continue to speak that, because I mean, why? They made the bid already, so it's not like it's not. They already made the bid, so all you got to say, all right, yeah, we'll do it. I mean, so I guess we're just, and I know it's like the holidays and the Matrix and everything, so it's like, when do we get some announcement from Rodman? Or when do we get the feedback? Oh my goodness, like, I'm anxious because it is that's like I said, this has got to work out. Anyways,
so you're going through the depression. You had no income because you couldn't work, and because the professional league that you were part of basically dissolved. You didn't have, an infrastructure from the team of medical support or teammates. And so you were on your own. Your insurance company kept refusing to give you the surgery that you needed to repair the occipital nerve, which had been damaged. And
like I said, she shouldn't have been on her own. She should have had all those teammates. She had all those girls in that league. Couldn't get behind Brianna Scurry. All those women in that league that got dismantled, unfortunately. And then, I know, hopefully she wasn't the only player injured, but thinking about it, she may have not been the only player injured. But this is life-changing, life-altering. And man, ain't that some BS?
was the reason for your excruciating headaches. So you were really just getting nowhere, and you ended up pawning your Olympic gold medals. Well, it wasn't exactly called pawning, these were like non-bank loans, which is kind of like high-class pawning. Would you describe how you pawned the Olympic medals?
So
Man, this reporter, this interviewer is dirty, bro. Talking about, so how technically did you pawn those things to get this type of money? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, tell us the inside game. Like I said, nobody was supporting Curry. Nobody. So she had Olympic gold medals. So all those girls she won the medals with, ain't nobody reach out, lend out a hand. She had to pawn her, you know what I'm saying? Loan out, fleece out, give out. She had nobody she won the gold medals with. Nobody that she won the gold medals with that she had to pawn reached out to give a F about her. You know what I'm saying? So that's how they was moving. And it's just like, damn, niggas, y'all ain't shit. Like, really, though. Y'all really ain't shit. Like, oh, my God. Y'all ain't shit. Y'all ain't shit. I mean, this is crazy. That's pretty much, nigga, y'all wasn't shit for, y'all you trying to tell me the niggas she won the gold medals with wasn't there for her to lend out a hand. Like, that's it. That's the fact. Like, she had to do all this technically by herself. She had her parents also in their own things. Like, she should have had a whole collective of women in the league that got dismantled. But you can see how the unity wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, and especially not for no Scurry. You know what I'm saying? It just couldn't have been. And you're like, And she still lives to tell the tale, but up on her own practically. And now we're seeing her. Like I said, I saw her this morning, but we telling this side of the story, because what y'all telling, it can't be trusted. It can't be trusted, and all y'all want to do is go to like the what y'all think what we should be talking about in her life type shit. You know what I mean? You know, because if sport is a mirror, they want to go talk about how she operated in her sexuality. They want to go and talk about how she's the only black player in the thing. They want to go and talk about these key perceptions of rhetoric. They don't want to talk about how grateful were you that your parents were so supportive of your dreams and goals. Talk about how, once again, you manifested your dream reality by putting that map to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Better pictures of her. Like I said. So Scurry been out here on her own, you know what I mean? I don't know if she got kids right now, but we now aware of her, and she's in the Gainbridge League. And also she's our one mirror to show you how them 99ers were operating. And still in totality are operating based upon their foundational playing. They still ain't been shit. So they still, you know what I'm saying? Look, I'm telling you, all those people she won those medals with did not help her. Therefore, she had to give them up temporarily, and y'all make articles about it. Like, do you see the rhetoric? Like, damn, nigga, I would be embarrassed to say that shit. Where's the unity? Like, this is ludicrous. But hey, they ain't gonna tell you that shit. Oh, y'all flunked out. Y'all ain't shit. Y'all really ain't shit, really, y'all. I mean, yeah. And like I said, the niggas ain't really like, you know what, I mean, are we not surprised? I'm not surprised, to be honest. I'm not surprised, but damn, this is just a fucked up mirror to look at. Mm.
Day that I went there, I drove my vehicle, I'd say not more than an hour downtown New York on Highway 80 with this raging debate going on in my heart and my soul and my mind about what I was doing. I was essentially going to take my 8-year-old self the medal that I had wanted since I was young. The medal that my parents, and all my family, and all my friends, and all my coaches had worked to get over the course of decades. And I was going to go and I was going to give it to these strangers for money. And at that point, I cried. I remember driving up the highway. Each exit I passed, I wanted to turn around and go back. And I fought this battle in my mind. On one hand, I knew I needed this money in order to be stable, in order to not lose my apartment, in order to not basically either be homeless or go back and live with my mom to support myself. On the other hand, it was my Olympic gold medal. It was the medal that we had worked so hard, and I was going to be such a shame to my friends and family for pawning this thing that meant so much to me and to them. And I just cried the whole way there. And then when I got there, I just sat there in the office, and to their credit, they were so kind. They were so nice to me. They were so polite, and they had a tenderness about them that made me feel comfortable about what I was doing. But as soon as I left the building, I went to my car, and I just cried. And I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried for over an hour before I could even get up the strength to drive home.
Did your friends and former teammates know how bad your concussion was? Did they know the hell that you were going through? Wasn't there anyone who could have helped you financially and otherwise?
All right, we're about to hear what she's about to say. I'm very interested to know because we still talking about how she still pawned her stuff. So I mean, the help wasn't enough, obviously. But we're gonna see what help did she receive. I imagine there's some blueprint there, right? I imagine there's something.
They did know how bad it was to a point. I had borrowed several thousands of dollars from friends and family at that point, and I just felt like I couldn't go back to that well again. I already owed them so much money, and I just was slipping deeper and deeper into despair. And asking for help back then, Terry, really was a difficult thing for me to do. I had so much pride and so much built up in who I was, and I felt like such a shadow of myself at that point that I just didn't want to bother and be a burden to anyone else. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I did have something of value that I could use to get myself back on stable ground, even though it ripped my heart out.
How much money did you get for the medals?
So I got a total of $18,000 for both of them. I got
combined?
$5,000 for the first one, yes, and then $13,000 for the second, combined.
You know, in the scheme of things, it's a lot of money to help you get by for a while, but in the scheme of things, it's really not that much money.
It's not. It's not that much money at all, considering all the time and effort that goes into winning and what those medals represented. It was a pittance comparatively. But it was the patch and the temporary fix that I needed to get some stability in order to continue to press forward and get the help I needed.
At the same time that this was happening, your relationship...
And mind you, this is all because the fuck-ass insurance company didn't want to pay for the fucking bitch-ass surgery. Oh, cunt-ass motherfuckers. So the system was against her, obviously. I mean, all the insurance company had to do was write the check. Couldn't even do that, nigga, for Brianna Scurry, USA Women's fucking Hall of Fame goalkeeper. Couldn't even write the check for her. Couldn't do it. Nigga can't do it. What do you mean you can't write? Like this, this is life changing. I play professional football. Like nowadays, you be like, no, nigga, we got you. You know, you're supported. Back then, they were like, oh well. She needed $18,000. The league collapsed. The insurance was hoeing. Damn. She borrowed money from teammates. She say on a couple thousand. She don't say who. It wasn't enough. She needed 18,000 though. Come on, 18,000. I mean, I feel like that collective could have pulled 18K together back then. I think they could have done it. I'm just saying. I think they could have done it. She says it. They talking about it like it ain't nothing. She say, yeah, it's not. It ain't shit based upon the shit we had to put into it. So therefore, by default, 18,000 could have popped up in a collective of a women's soccer league. See or no? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So y'all ain't shit. Anyways.
Naomi, who had been the team massage therapist, and you'd been a couple for about 6 years. That relationship was breaking up, although you remained good friends. And she had a startup at some point for an apparel company that she was starting. And there was an event for potential investors, and she told you should come, and you kind of reluctantly went. And it was there that you met the woman who not only helped you buy back your Olympic medals, but eventually became your wife. Tell us a little bit about her and what she was able to do for you to get your life back. I should mention she I don't know if she still has this, but she had it's what sounds like a very high-level public relations company.
Yes, she still does have it. And she was at that event that you had mentioned. And I didn't meet her there in person necessarily, but at that event, at the end of it, after being there, my headache was so bad that I laid down on the couch in the other room. And as people were leaving the event, I was laying on the couch, and sure enough, Krista saw me on that couch. And so a few days later, when she and Naomi were talking over dinner about investing in the company, Naomi, in a stroke of absolute miracle for me, learned that Krista was in PR, and she said to her, I have a friend who's battling the insurance company and trying to get this procedure done. They are not budging and not helping her. Do you think that you could potentially help her with maybe some well-placed media move that ball along? And Krista said, sure, have her call me. And so Naomi came back to me a couple days later and told me about this dinner that she had had with this woman, Krista, and that she thought
Yo, Krista connected, nigga. Who the hell is Krista, nigga? Who is she affiliated with? Because her background is CIA. She got the media, well-placed media. This is crazy. But just, nigga, should the insurance stop hoeing around and just like... But listen, it had to be this way. It had to be this way, right? It had to be this way.
could maybe help me with the insurance company do the right thing.
So the idea was get a lot of publicity, shame the insurance company, and get the support that you needed from the insurance company so you could get your surgery.
Exactly. Because the insurance company definitely didn't want the headline to be two-time Olympic gold medalist, World Cup champion, battles insurance company over clear issues and obvious payments that they should make. They didn't want that to be in the USA Today, the LA Times, the New York Times, and the like. And so when Krista and I finally did speak, I told her all about my plight, all about what I was dealing with. And she said, okay, let me speak to your lawyers and we'll talk about what we can do. And so Krista spoke to them, and the lawyers are the ones that went back to the insurance company and said, look, here's the deal. You need to do the right thing. You need to pay for the surgery. We already went to court and it was found that you were liable and that you need to pay. So do it, or this is what's going to happen. The media is going to find out this story and it's not going to look good for you. At that moment, they did a complete 180. I got my surgery. I got a whole year of therapy after that. And I was able to settle with that insurance company during that year as well.
It's infuriating that they didn't really believe you. that they didn't believe how severe your symptoms were. They didn't believe that you should have this operation that was recommended for you. And when you when you got this surgery and awoke from it, you had no headache. You felt great.
Yes, I did. I knew immediately. So Naomi and Krissa were both at the hospital when I got this surgery. So when I came out of surgery, I remember opening in my eyes and just being so happy. I started crying because when you have chronic pain like that I had for 3 years, you don't realize how painful and how much energy it takes up until it's gone. And then when it was gone, I was just so excited. And I told Krissa and Naomi, and they told me later that they looked at each other and said, she's just still under the anesthesia. It's not all that she thinks it is, but sure enough, it was.
So there's a photo of you in the Smithsonian African American Museum of History and Culture. That would be meaningful to anyone who is in it, but is it especially meaningful to you because for so long, like, you were the only black athlete on the soccer teams that you played on, because soccer in the U.S. has been so associated with it being a white sport?
Absolutely. I didn't know that my body of work on and off the pitch was having that big of an effect on the African American community. And so when we finally did speak to the curator, I was so humbled and so thrilled to be honored to be in the same building as Oprah Winfrey, as Rosa Parks, Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. I didn't really think that my contribution was necessarily going to be worthy of that type of honor. And then when I spoke to them, they wanted me to be the Title IX example for the Title IX exhibit within the Game Changers exhibit at the museum. And I was more than honored and thrilled to do so. So in that Game Changers exhibit is the jersey that I wore for the Women's World Cup that I made that penalty kick save in. That is the actual jersey in that exhibit.
That's so great. Brianna Scurry, it's been so great to talk with you. I'm so glad you're well, and that you have, that you have a good, fulfilling, stable, physically comfortable life now. That you're not in pain, and that you have the recognition that you still have, all the recognition and more. So it's been a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much.
Terry, thank you so much for honoring me and having me on your show, and it's been fantastic to speak with you.
Brianna Scurry's new memoir is called My Greatest Save. Tomorrow on Fresh Air, my guest...
Hey, that was good. I like that. Hey, I like that. Man, Brianna Scurry, bro. She's definitely a goat. Like, honestly, like I said, when she talks about that museum of the living legends, yeah, definitely first ever USA Women's National Team goalkeeper inducted to the Hall of Fame with no race included. She's the first ever U.S. Women's National Team goalkeeper inducted into a Hall of Fame. Brianna Scurry, and we didn't even know about her like that. You know what I'm saying? Wicked. But now she's an ambassador for the Gainbridge Super League, so it's definitely legit. As the plot thickens, we continue to identify, some foundational pieces of her. And her story is wild, but she has overcome, obviously, and we back at it. 173 caps. There's not many players that will get that in their career. You know what I mean? She's got the M's, Minnesota, and she's 54. Oh, and she's a Virgo. 1971. Hey, isn't this when Copa America was? Is she still the assistant with Washington Spirit, or is she somewhere else? But it still says she's assistant, but I ain't never seen her on the sideline, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Coaching staff. Nah, nigga, you don't see no Brianna Curry over here, bro. Her Wikipedia needs some updation. Let's see if they got her Wikipedia updated with the Cambridge Super League. Okay, let's see. So her coaching was December 6th. That's hilarious how December 6th is the one of the days DC Power Play. First assistant head coach. How come she wasn't the head coach? Just give her the head coaching job. Crazy. So nothing yet. Ambassador of the Gainbridge Super League, though. She's definitely a face of the league, for sure. And I'm only here just to remind those. But yeah, man, I think I'm gonna get out of here, bro. Brianna Curry, bro. Oh shit, Brianna Scurry. Oh my goodness, yes, it's time to go. Brianna Scurry, yo, the first I forgotten they set the blueprint, and y'all, we over here in the Women's Super League. We're gonna be tapping in soon. And yeah, we're gonna tap in. I'm so grateful for Brianna Curry. No, Brianna. And your story is legendary, I'm not gonna lie. Your story is crazy. And